Last week, I argued against banning TikTok. And in talking to people about the platform, I came to see that the real concern most had was not about TikTok's Chinese ownership, but rather just how scarily addictive it and much of social media is. That is true and deeply worrying, and we should do something about it, and soon. TikTok is the dominant app in the US today. It has about 150 million users here. The Washington Post's Drew Harwell nicely summarizes the data. In 2021, its website was visited more frequently than Google. 2/3 of American teens use it, with 1 in 6 saying they use it almost constantly. It is also wiping the floor with the competition. Harwell quotes a Bernstein research report that found that between 2018 and 2021, the time Americans spent on the app surged by 67%, while hours on Facebook and YouTube grew by less than 10%. What is it that TikTok does that is so distinctive? No one quite knows. Philipp Lorenz-Spreen, a research scientist at the Max Planck Institute for Human Development in Berlin, told The Guardian, "It's embarrassing that we know so little about TikTok and its effects. Partly this is because TikTok is relatively new, and partly because its algorithm is highly sophisticated. Instead of an image or a post chosen by a friend, TikTok presents you with a stream of videos and gauges what you like to give you more of it, replacing the friction of deciding what to watch," the Bernstein researchers explain, with a sensory rush of bite-sized videos delivering endorphin hit after hit. Most psychologists would characterize it as also delivering dopamine, the chemical secreted in the brain when we find something pleasurable, such as food, shelter, or sex. Anything that connects us to others triggers this sense of pleasure because it's an evolutionary response. We survive better in groups than as individuals. Social media apps capitalize on this survival mechanism for their own profit. And TikTok provides this dopamine hit perhaps faster, better, and more pleasurably than any other app. The best way to understand how social media is affecting our brains is to go back to Psychology 101. B.F. Skinner, one of the foundational scholars in the field, demonstrated how operant conditioning works by using a simple system of continual rewards for pigeons, teaching them how to fly in circles, guide missiles, and even play ping pong. The simplest version to watch is a dog trainer who will give the pet a stream of small treats to reward him or her for following directions. Social media apps provide those small dopamine hits just as reliably. Jonathan Haidt has become famous as a critic of social media. A distinguished social psychologist, he teaches at NYU, Haidt argues that the rise of social media and its reward system is closely correlated with staggering declines in the mental health of teenagers. Around 2012, he argues, you begin to see all kinds of indications of declining mental health, from self-reported feelings to hospitalizations to attempted suicides. He says it has happened in the United States, Britain, and several other countries with widespread use of social media. The rise in anxiety, depression, and attempted suicides among teenage girls is particularly frightening. And these numbers are getting worse by the year. The timing makes sense when you consider that the early 2010s is when teens were trading in their flip phones for smartphones loaded with social media apps. And that 2009 is when Facebook introduced the like and Twitter introduced the retweet feature that mimicked the dog trainer's treats. So by 2012, the year Facebook bought Instagram and its user base exploded, a large number of teens were hooked. Haidt is working on a book on this topic, and on his Substack, After Babel, he maintains an ongoing database of scholarly studies and commentary on these studies. I came away from it utterly convinced that he is right and that we need serious rules and laws surrounding this technology. He argues that the age at which social media companies can collect children's data without parental consent should be raised from 13 to 16. The initial discussions among lawmakers had chosen 16, he told me, but then social media company lobbyists were able to push it down to 13. There could be federal laws requiring more notifications when the app has been used for too long, automatic turn-offs at night, and more. For those worried about this kind of legislation, bear in mind that social media companies are largely protected from lawsuits by an extremely generous provision in the law, Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act. They can reasonably be asked in return to make their products safer for their consumers. The next technological leap is generative artificial intelligence. And once that is fully married to social media, those companies will have a superhuman capacity to create addiction machines of astonishing power that could hook us permanently, perhaps even rewire our brains with devastating consequences. We should act now while we have the time and the attention span.